Hello everybody and welcome to the East Road area. Unfortunately I can't stream this live because it seems like there's a signal problem or some other problem involved, but we're here where we don't normally go because we have special permission, and with the COVID crisis going on, things are more restricted than usual. So I am here to help share what Dave Nutter, who's here with me, is seeing. He knows what he's talking about. I don't, but at least, maybe between the two of us, we can see a few birds and share them with the people who can't be here today. So, say hello, Dave.
Hi. So, a number of years ago, the folks at the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge here decided that it would be okay to have shorebird walks in the late summer, which is actually the migration season for shorebirds. And as they let the water down, there's more and more mud available for them in more shallow water. And migrating shorebirds stop in here, as well as some of the ones that breed around here gather here. So it's a good place for shorebirds. If you've been up to East Road, you know how far away and frustrating that can be to look at them from there. But the refuge allowed us to have guided walks, and I was fortunate enough to be chosen as one of those guides. This year, we do not have that option. The refuge is, the staff is rightly reluctant to have crowds. Some of these shorebirds would have 40 or 50 people, and we would be crowded together to even share scopes to look at things. And you don't want to do that in the time of COVID. But they did say they're willing to have virtual walks. So what we're trying out is...
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
We've got a plane interrupting our conversation here. It's yellow if everyone wants to know.
There is an airport
right nearby.
A little runway right next to us.
Okay, you were saying.
So anyway, they said the various leaders are welcome to go out with one or two other people and try to produce something which can be put up on social media to help share what's here. But I think one of the benefits will be that with Ferris's video, we can zoom in on birds, and then we can help discuss the ID techniques for some groups of birds which can be kind of intimidating. A lot of little gray and brown shorebirds, and we've got some eclipse plumage ducks here. And anyway, we're going to see what we can find and get a good look at and let you know what we think is going on. Okay. In general, with shorebirds, shape is one of the things you go for immediately. And yellowlegs is a very extreme shape. It's got very long legs, a very long neck, a very long bill, and a very long body. And that's characteristic of several birds in the same genus, Tringa: greater yellowlegs, lesser yellowlegs, solitary sandpiper, and also when we're lucky enough to have them stop by here, willet. All have that same shape, and the largest one we regularly get is greater yellowlegs. I am not seeing this bird yet. Is it on the far shore?
Yes.
Okay. Facing right.
I think you're generally looking in the right place. Yes, it is facing right, and now behind a little mound.
And it's behind the top of cattails.
Okay, I think we're maybe looking at a different one.
Okay. I'm going to use a common technique.
Okay, and stand behind me?
The other person.
Okay, well I just moved. Well, now I can't see it. I've got the cattails in my way.
Okay. Well,
let me see if I can find another one.
I'm going to get over on your right side.
Okay.
Enable me to see that, I think.
Okay. Well, I see one that's not too far from a killdeer. It's walking away from it. The killdeer is walking in the opposite direction on the far side of the shore.
Okay. So the yellowlegs had its head underwater a minute ago, and it's walking to the right. Is that the bird we're talking about?
That is the one.
It's going in front of a little lump of
That is exactly the one.
Okay, one of the neat things that we're seeing about this bird, this is an adult bird. It's still in breeding plumage. It's more mottled underneath than some of the birds we'll see today. And as I said, it's got extremely long legs, extremely long neck. But what you want to look at in particular is the bill. And the bill is a good 1.5 times the length of the head. And it can give you a little sense of being. Okay, that's a clincher, that multiple note call. Also, it's distinctly larger than the killdeer, so those are all clues. Size is really a hard thing to do unless you have two birds next to each other and they're different and you can compare them. Okay, and the second bird that came in was also a yellowlegs, and it was in a different plumage.
Oh, for a moment I thought it looked smaller, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, it is smaller. See, they just went past each other. The greater yellowlegs.
And is that a lesser that?
And a lesser yellowlegs going to the left. And these are both in non-breeding plumage.
So this is everyone, we're looking at a lesser yellowlegs right now.
You're looking at the one that's
moving to the left.
Okay.
Its legs are long also, but not as long as those of the greater yellowlegs. And you can clearly see it doesn't seem to be as large a bird.
Not as extreme. In particular, the neck doesn't look as long, and
you're right. I mean, I'm looking.
It's almost as thick as the head is about the same thickness as the neck on the lesser yellowlegs, whereas the neck just looks skinnier on a greater yellowlegs. But this is it's not blotchy underneath. It's got fine speckles evenly throughout the back and wings.
See that? Did you see the lesser? It was near another bird. I'm not sure who.
It walked past a killdeer.
Oh, okay. I have a hard time seeing it through the cattails.
Cattails in the way. But anyway, this is one of the clues. The plumage on these birds is distinct. If it's got all fresh plumage and looks all nice and neat like this, that means it's a juvenile bird.
Oh, okay.
So this was just, hatched up in the taiga of Canada a couple months ago, and it's already on migration.
Already here. Amazing.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of brown backlit ducks, and so the question is, how would you identify these things? A lot of them are the same size and shape, and they're actually our most common duck. There's a lot of mallards in there, and some of them look like female mallards because that's what they are. Some of them are male mallards in eclipse plumage, and they have only a few aspects of the breeding plumage are still there. They'll have a little bit of silver on top of the lower back. I mean, it's actually probably their secondaries that are folded back there, but you'll see a little bit of that silver gray. You might see white on the sides of the tail. There's one of them in particular that's wagging its tail from side to side as it's folding, or on the left. And you might be able to see the speculum from time to time looking sort of purple with white on either side of it. Those are all things that will help you identify a mallard. And there are also some smaller ducks in among them. So those are not baby mallards, those are teal. And we have two different kinds of teal around. And I was seeing both species in here.
Both green and blue.
Green-winged teal and blue-winged teal. And unless they spread their wings, it's pretty tricky to tell. But I want to let you in on one of the tricks. And that is, okay, farthest away in this group, facing to the right and swimming to the right a little bit. Just went to the right of a little spray of cattails, about to go There's two of them back there on either side of a spray of cattails. There's a couple of blue-winged teal, and the way I'm saying that is on the face, the cheek gets very pale right next to the bill. And it's pretty subtle, but it is there, and you might be able to pick that up. Are you seeing two birds facing left now? One of them has his bill in the water, and the other's...
I'm not so sure we're looking at the same ones.
They're going in front of, they just passed in front of a little spray of cattails. There's no more ducks behind them, and there's only two more ducks to the left of them.
Are we generally on the left or right of this whole group?
Of the group,
okay.
Towards the open water.
Okay, I see them.
They're now facing away, kind of, and picking around a bit and feeding on the duckweed. But if you see the one that's farther away, it turns its head to the side enough every once in a while, and just concentrate on the cheek near the bill. And on both of them, you might be able to see it's a little more pale right there.
Just at the base of the bill.
Yes.
Just saw it, just barely, but saw it.
Next to the bill gets paler a little bit.
And that's on the blue-winged teal.
Blue-winged teal. At the same time, look at the side of the tail on these birds, and it does not have the feature that green-winged teal have. It's still pretty generally just streaked and striped with paler and darker tan. There's nothing remarkable about the side of the tail. And I'm going to try to find the green-winged teal now. Let's scan to the right and see if we can find the bird which does not have the pale area on the cheek, but does have a distinctly pale area on the side of the tail, the edge. There's always a pale triangle of when you see a green-winged teal in profile. So.
And again, everybody, the problem right now is, I mean, normally, and even someone like me who doesn't have the ID skills that Dave has, the problem is they're in eclipse plumage. So, normally, for instance, when we see the males in their breeding colors, for me, they're relatively easy to identify as long as there's some decent lighting. But now that everybody here is in eclipse plumage, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I think in the foreground, am I looking at one now? Green-winged teal, I think. There was one that just kind of reared up and flapped its wings.
A blue-winged teal. I could see the blue in its wings, but the bird to the left of it and
yes.
us and feeding, I'm not so sure about. So I'm hoping. Well, I don't see that pale mark on the tail, and I do see the pale area on the face, so that's another blue-winged teal.
Oh, really? Okay.
I knew there was a green-winged teal earlier, and the birds wander around, and I'm not seeing it right now.
How about over to the right a bit and behind like a muddy area?
There's yellow legs in front of them, a group of
yes,
so,
yes.
A couple of them swimming and feeding.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like one has its head tucked back, and we're not going to see anything there. And there are two smaller ducks. They're swimming generally to the left.
Yeah, and they're sort of running out of mud in front of them. They're out into open water.
Mm-hmm. We're getting a lot of heat distortion, so it's hard. Well, you know what? But in a way, that's good. It's educational because, you're not always going to have perfect viewing conditions. Just by the way it's feeding, and from what I've seen, I don't know if... do blue-winged teal feed the same way that green-winged teal do?
Well, I know blue-winged teal often feed similarly to to northern shovelers.
Oh,
In
okay.
the same genus. They like really shallow, muddy water, and they'll feed like this with their head out in front of them.
And they're just sweeping.
At the surface, like that. So at this point,
It's tough to tell.
it's tough to tell. Yeah, I think one of those, the one that's going left, next group of 4, another one in front. They might be showing that white, and it's not the broad white area below the tail. It's right at the edge, I'm looking for. And
it looks like some of the ducks are leaving, or at least flew by. I think right now at least I can't tell.
okay, well, we only had half a lesson here, but that's what.
Should we keep walking?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
move up a little bit.
Let's move up
We're
and
either
see what
gonna
else
get
we can
a better
see, and
view of the ducks, or
We'll
we're going to see
we'll see if they
the shorebirds that
flush.
remain,
Okay.
if we're lucky.
Okay, we're just looking right now at greater and lesser yellowlegs. The greater is right here, everybody, and the lesser.
Well, it really seems to taper and curve upward almost. It's really the lower part of the bill which does more of the curving.
Which one are you looking at?
Greater yellow.
The greater? Okay, let's look at the greater.
It's in the water, and the lesser yellowlegs is just out of the water on the kind of green mucky mud.
The greater's out of the water now.
This is further ahead to the left. And both of these are in juvenile plumage, really crisp, beautiful, complete pattern across the wings and back. And none of the blotchiness.
So everybody, greater is on the right, lesser is on the left. It's not simply a matter of size. There are some other distinct differences in terms of proportions, shape of the bill, etc. And they're not going to be in the frame together that much longer but it's
Definitely got the size. You've got a positive idea of these two.
It's a nice look at both of them.
Yellow legs. But you can try to learn from the shape of the proportion of the bill. I mean, the lesser yellow leg still has a significant bill. It's longer than the head. But its head looks kind of round, and the neck is almost as thick as the head. And if you look at the greater yellow legs, it has a more blocky head.
Relative to the neck.
The neck is thinner than the head. And those are good clues.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad we took a look at them.
And then if they call, conveniently the lesser yellow legs gives fewer notes usually than the greater yellow legs. So the lesser yellow legs is often giving a 2-note call, 2-2. And the greater yellow legs is more often 2-2-2, 3 or more notes.
Okay, I see something out there. Okay, I think I see a spotted. Now this spotted sandpiper I'm looking at, I don't know how to describe it, but it's, I've lost it. It looked like, oh, there it is. It looks like its back is, clearly marked and darker than its breast, which is white. I don't see any spots. It just started running to our right.
It's facing away from us more or less now. It's facing right.
Mm-hmm.
And about to go behind some grasses.
Looks lighter than I would anticipate, and maybe I'm thinking about what they look like in breeding colors.
Well, this is non-breeding plumage, and it's very plain. White on the belly. It's got a wash of gray on the side of the breast, and it's pretty much plain gray-brown on the back.
I can't see it now.
Yeah, it's hiding.
There it is.
Is it not really hiding? Oh, it's still in the middle of that weedy area. But it's still doing that motion of pumping its rear
Right,
end down and up.
the jerky motion.
Which is a really good clue.
That is something that helps me when I've seen them in the past. I've kind of lost. Oh, there it is.
So, as a shorebird, doesn't give you a whole lot to go on. It's doesn't have any really distinctive bright markings at this point. It doesn't have the spots, so the name is sort of
A misnomer.
But it does have that distinctive motion. Now, as far as proportions, the legs are not nearly as long as the yellow legs. The legs are about the same as the thickness vertically of the body, and it shows a little bit of neck. I mean, it doesn't just have the head plunked onto the shoulders the way some smaller shorebirds do, and the head doesn't look particularly large. So those are actually clues to size. The smaller the bird, the bigger the head looks on the body.
Okay, that's interesting to know.
That's just sort of a general rule. It's the smallest of the shorebirds which tend not to show much neck, but also it's a whole group of birds we call peeps. It's sort of just a generic term for little shorebirds that we are having trouble to identify.
I somehow thought that a spotted sandpiper would be maybe a little bit larger than at least the one peep I think I know of, and that is least sandpiper.
Yes. So yeah, it's on the larger end of what we would call peeps.
Oh, okay.
So peeps is generally, they're in this genus, all in the same genus, Calidris, and includes least sandpiper, semi-palmated sandpiper. Those are the main ones we have in numbers around here. Less commonly, we have white-rumped sandpiper and barred sandpiper. And occasionally a western sandpiper shows up, but that's something that's more obviously from out west. And then, interestingly, down in southeastern United States, winter down there.
I'm not sure what I'm looking at.
Oh, I like that.
Here,
That's fun.
take a look at my camera screen.
Okay. Well, I want to see that.
Let me darken it a little bit.
Okay. It's got a short bill, which is pretty neat. Okay.
I think its bill's kind of long, actually.
Maybe I'm just...
It's hard to see on my screen.
Okay. Is that in the near mud? Or is it...
And it's standing on one leg. There's some vegetation in the water.
Right on the shore there. It's in the mud right close to the shore. Okay.
I don't know what that is.
I think that's the greater yellow legs that I saw earlier.
Okay.
And it was just the foreshortening. Maybe.
But that bill seems longer.
Yes. No, this is the adult greater yellow legs. The back, the plumage is much more mottled.
Okay.
It was preening and probably preening because it's kind of itchy and has new feathers coming in. And I mean, all birds preen, but this one, when they're molting, they have more reason to do it.
And notice, everybody, there is a slight upturn to the bill.
It's definitely got a taper to it, and that is a long yellow leg on the right, and on the left you can barely see its toes hanging down because it's folded that leg up.
For whatever reason.
They enjoy standing on one leg and resting the other leg sometimes. Very common among birds, but it's a mystery to most people. Look at how blotchy that back is. That's a bird which is molting and a bird which already had more of a pattern to the, more of a large-scale pattern to the plumage. This is an adult greater yellow-legs.
Okay.
When I saw it on your screen, it gave more an illusion of being flat to me, and that made me think that the bill was short rather than foreshortened. And I'm going through my mind thinking, okay, which shorebirds have a bill which is only the length of the head? And,
I see.
And I was thinking, okay, maybe a pectoral sandpiper, because I was not seeing the legs.
I see. Okay.
When I was just glancing
at the screen. Yeah, it's tough to see.
Yeah, and I'm sure people who are viewing on a bigger screen, you know, without dealing with glare and things, are going to see details that I was missing. But that's why I was not immediately thinking the greater yellow legs, which I'm able to tell that's what it is when I'm looking in the scope.
Okay, so distantly we have, you're identifying a least sandpiper. Let me just get it on camera here a little better. And it's small and it's clearly feeding.
So it's got this rapid motion as it's feeding. And I'm not using that motion as a clue. What I'm looking at is the whole compact nature of this bird. Short legs.
No neck.
No neck. And the bill is maybe the length of the head, maybe a little shorter than that. But it's not a long bill. It's everything is more compact. It's kind of a football-shaped body, a little bit of roundness to the back. The belly and undertail coverts come up, and they meet by the tip of the tail. It's not like the wings are sticking way out behind. It doesn't have any of the elongated body look that a yellowlegs has. So this is, you know, basic little shorebird, but it's what we call a peep. It's small and it's and as I said, it's very compact. It's in the genus Calidris, which a lot of the shorebirds are. Sanderlings are in this group. If you ever go to the beach and you see a sanderling, it's the same body plan. And everything is kind of short.
And I'll add, you know, that it's so important. Oh, really, way too bright. The way I've been recording, the shape is so important because, you know, you can't always compare size. You know, right now, looking at this bird, it's in a vacuum. I mean,
yes.
If you went by size alone, is it? Pardon me?
There's two birds. One of them walked in front, and there's another one to the right. They're all the same.
Okay. I mean, you know, you can't, you don't always have birds next to each other to compare, and you know that's obviously a problem. I mean,
a little bit. There's a killdeer about to walk in front of the one on the right. Zoom out a little bit and move to the right, and we've got a killdeer. And all of a sudden, magically, we have a yardstick. Are you?
I see the killdeer.
Okay, we've got a killdeer in front, and that's like a robin or a crow in the world of shorebirds. It's a common enough bird that you've probably seen it sometime, and maybe it's familiar to you. And you say, "Aha! These are significantly smaller than a killdeer. These are small sandpipers." The killdeer next to the one. Anyway, the least sandpipers, they're the smallest of the peeps, but significantly they are more brown than the next largest one. Semi-palmated is the one you're most likely to get it mixed up with. Semi-palmated sandpiper. The semi-palmated sandpiper is very gray, and least sandpiper has a brownish cast to it, and that brown includes a wash on the breast, and it includes the back and wings and the crown. And so you look at this bird and you get the impression, okay, that's a mud bird. It likes being on mud because it's kind of got that brownish overall cast. And another thing is you will often see a stripe or the effect of a couple of stripes down the back. This one isn't showing it really strongly, but there are some lighter marks on the back. Every once in a while, as you look down the length of the back, you'll see what we call braces, or like suspenders, light-colored lines down the back. It's something you see very strongly on a snipe, for instance, and on a few other birds, but you'll often see that on the least sandpiper. The way it's walking, it's really crouching down. They remind me of mice almost, and like they know they're small and vulnerable, and they just sort of creep along, and they're not upright and proud. I mean, this one's busy feeding, but mostly least sandpipers creep along with their legs bent. If we can get a decent look at the bill.
There's one isn't there one that's running to the right? So I'm watching that one right now.
Fine. That one has its bill up more. That bill actually comes to a very fine point. If we ever get a chance to see a semi-palmated sandpiper, the semi-palmated sandpiper's bill is thicker, a little more tapered, and blunt. Whereas this is the least sandpiper is thinner, and it's more like forceps, and if you get a really good look at it, it will be ever so slightly downturned overall, the bill. And again, if you get a good look, which we're not really now, in sunlight, the legs will be yellowish on the least sandpiper, whereas it'll be black on semi-palmated. I'm giving you all this information because that's the other thing you're likely to get it mixed up with, the semi-palmated sandpiper.
Okay, I'll find them in a moment. There they are. Well, I see two, and I don't know where the other one is. But it's good to see our family of cranes here. The youngest is on the. Oh, there's the third one. Okay, the youngest one is in the middle. They're young, who's getting pretty big, I would say. Not quite full size, but getting there.
It still looks a little downy on the head. It looks like it's getting real feathers on the back and wings. But I wonder if this bird is even able to fly yet. Maybe it can, but I've only seen it walking, and I've only seen it with its parents in this marsh. And my assumption is they raised this bird here.
I have to guess. I'd have to agree with that.
Those legs are practically full-sized, even if the body isn't.
They're a favorite of mine.
And something which we didn't have in this part of New York State, and it's not on any kind of regular basis, until about the time when the DEC and Audubon and Nature Conservancy came together with the refuge and started really expanding the wetlands that were available for wildlife here.
And they just found their way here.
Montezuma wetlands complexes. Practically as soon as that project took off, they found cranes over near the DEC headquarters on Morgan Road years ago. And now we have them. Practically every major impoundment has its pair of cranes.
That's wonderful. I love them.
Yeah.
Wish they were closer, but you know, what can you do?
Oh, it's got a lot of wing feathers. Just sort of shuffled its wing feathers around.
I did it. I missed it.
And,
but clearly, you can see the body is smaller than the adult.
But the legs are just about the same size.
Yeah, you're right.
So the first priority is running away. The second priority is flying.
And it's, I believe I saw it a couple weeks ago, and it's grown a lot since.
Yeah, I do see a least sandpiper who's walking along underneath a brilliant loosestrife right now.
Let's see if I can find the...
Actually, I've got a question now.
Oh, there's a semi-palmated. I see it. Looks a lot, you know, to the naked eye, or to the untrained eye, looks a lot like a killdeer. To me, anyway.
Yeah. Very similar.
So I'm looking at a... I only know of one semi-palmated plover, and that's walking a little bit to the right. I don't know if we'll... And just walked behind a loosestrife plant, and it's now coming out from behind it.
The bird that I was thinking might be a least sandpiper is actually a petrel sandpiper.
Really?
It's a little bit larger than the plover, which was a clue that it wasn't a least sandpiper.
Okay, I see both. I just had a look at both semi-palmated plovers at once, and now I can't see them both at the same time any longer, but one is a little closer to us. Oh, there are 3 of them. I would say there are at least 3 of them. There's one that's even closer, and I can't see it now. I've got vegetation, but it's going to come out, I think, for me. There it is.
Facing right?
Yes.
Away, about to walk behind another bush?
Mm-hmm.
No, okay.
So there are at least 3.
Facing away, facing right. Oh, and there's another one out in the open beyond it. Just walked in front, one walked left behind and the other walked right in front.
I think so. The one that's out in the open, even though it's a little farther, might be easier to talk. And there's another one coming this way. And then you're saying...
To the right and closer, there was a petrel sandpiper. So if you're interested in the petrel sandpiper.
I wouldn't mind.
Okay. From where those semi-palmated plovers are, scan to the right until you come to a lesser yellow legs in the wet mud behind it.
Okay, and next to it is what?
Come down. There's 2 lesser yellow legs in a row.
Okay.
Come down from them until you get to a little stripe of damp area, and then go to the right. There's a beautiful candelabra of loosestrife.
It looks like it's almost hiding underneath it.
Yeah, underneath that. I think that's our bird.
All right, let me see if I can...
Yes. And it's now feeding. It's got its rear end kind of up in the air. It's very white on the undertail coverage and belly. And the back is brown.
And you're saying this is a pectoral sandpiper.
It's a pectoral sandpiper, and it has a more pronounced version of those, what I call braces, the pale edges of feathers, which if you kind of squint, they form a couple of lines down the side, down the back, pale lines.
Okay.
But it's feeding, and if you look at it,
It has an eye stripe, doesn't it?
yes, and the head looks kind of small on this bird. This is a bigger bird.
Want to take a look?
Smaller head.
Dave, you want to take a look?
It's
Make sure we're looking at the same thing?
facing left at the base of a bush and feeding. Yeah, that's our bird.
Okay.
And look at the breast. The breast is striped brown, and it's like a big shield that comes down to a very definite end.
Oh, and then it's white
And
from then
It
on.
goes white on the belly, but it's streaked on the breast, heavily streaked all the way down, or I should say densely streaked with fine streaks.
I wish it would face us and give us a better look.
Every once in a while, it just turns sideways, and you can...
Well, that vegetation's not helping either.
Well, it's facing us now, and the brownness is that dark breast. It's behind. Oh, there's a lovely semi-palmated plover right behind. But the pectoral sandpiper is named for that big pectoral shield on the breast, and I understand that the male's display involves a lot of puffing up those breast feathers as well. They're unusual in shorebirds in that the males and females are I think the most distinct in size.
Oh, really?
Other than, I suppose, the ruff is more distinct. But the males are quite a bit bigger than the females, and so sometimes it's hard to pin down pectoral sandpipers. They're kind of chameleons of, brown and kind of medium-sized, and they're pretty diverse in what they will do in feeding. This one is kind of acting like a least sandpiper. If you see one by itself and you don't get a good look at the breast, you can mistake it for a least sandpiper because it's got a similar shape and proportions, although, as I said, the head is a little smaller on the pectoral in proportion to the body. But the coloration is very similar to a least sandpiper. It does also have yellow legs, dull yellow legs, which are short. They're about the length of the thickness of the body. There, you can see that delineation on the breast.
It's just not moving where I want it to be.
Oh. Well, I just walked between a couple of bushes and briefly showed that part.
Just for a minute.
There we go.
Keep going, come on.
And the bill is about the same length as the head, ever so slightly downturned.
Oh, come on.
Oh, silly bird. It is hiding from us.
And we can't, I don't think we could walk really to get that vegetation out of the way. It's so close to the vegetation, we wouldn't be able to get it out of our view.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Who's coming along here? Who's behind it? Is that a least?
Sandpiper. Much smaller.
Well, good. You can see the size difference.
But similar plumage and proportionately larger head.
Oh my! It's 12:15. I told them 12:30.
Okay. Well.
Well, let's keep walking.
Sure.
You're right. That's really clearly defined.
Well, but the solitary sandpiper walking in front is the tringa, which is the smallest. So it doesn't. His legs are greenish rather than yellow, like the yellow legs, and they're shorter. But it's got the same body plan, very long body and pointed rear end. But the neck is shorter. The bill is only about the same length as the head. It's very bluish brown on the back, plain looking, but if you get a good look, you've got these tiny little bright points of white on the feathers on the back and wings. Are you seeing the solitary sandpiper, the one that's walking to the right?
Just bopped his head?
It's feeding with little rapid motions, and now it just walked behind a loose spot.
I did get it.
Yeah. They have.
And that was what again?
Solitary
sandpiper.
And they have sort of white spectacles.
And who just walked behind it?
I think that was a least going left. Yeah.
Okay.
Least going left. And that has almost that same shield, but it's a little fuzzier on the edges on the breast. And the head is proportionally bigger on the least sandpiper.
Now, someone like me, I'm already getting them all confused, but the pectoral, where to go?
I don't know where the pectoral is.
Yeah, we lost sight of it.
So there, just walk behind.
Now it looks a lot like a least, correct?
Very similar. Now, what I'm seeing different is, overall, it's more gray and less brown. It's not as dark on the neck and breast. The bill is thicker at the base. It's definitely black.
And it's
bill.
Excuse me, it's moving to the left,
It's
correct?
moving to the left and kind of facing away at the moment. But it's the same body plan, short legs, no neck, kind of football-shaped body, no long extension of wings.
And again, it's what? It's a...
Semi-Palmated Sandpiper.
Okay.
And compared to the least, if you had them side by side, you'd see that this is bigger, if I'm correct. But compared to the least, the head to me looks a little chunkier, a little bigger head. And it's just paler on the face, and it's hard to say for sure because, you know, when they're walking in mud, but this would have, Semi-Palmated would have black legs, and the least would have yellowish brown legs. If we're just lucky enough, this will get close to a...
And get out of the water.
Well, the thing is, remember I described the least sandpiper as being more mud-colored and liking mud. This is less mud-colored and tends to like water a little more.
Okay.
So maybe they're going to stay kind of separated out. Maybe we'll be lucky and it'll go near another bird and either prove me right or prove me wrong.
There's a killdeer that keeps photobombing.
That's cool because that's a, you know, this is, killdeers are yardsticks.
Sure.
And you know, you were right in saying it's the size of a robin, but I was using it more in the sense of, whoop, now it's gone, but of something that gives you an idea that the bird we're concentrating is indeed a small bird, small shorebird. And you see those wingtips. You can see the undertail coverts coming almost to where the wingtips are. So we know it's not a white-rump sandpiper or a barred sandpiper. Those would have much longer wingtips that would really, really stand out and make it look like it's been somebody just sort of drawing it out from the rear. So to me it looks like a more of a blocky head, bigger head, thicker bill at the base anyway. Maybe more blunt at the tip. Grayer overall. Okay, in front we now have the spotted sandpiper as well as the lesser yellowleg. They separated out, but there's a spotted sandpiper just walked in front. Ironically, that looks smaller to me.
And semi-palmated?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Least and semi-palmated together. The least is behind, and you can see it is smaller and browner and has a thinner bill. And I don't know if you can see the leg color, but I'm at least imagining a paler leg color on the least.
Where is, I lost...
They're both behind that funny little island.
The island. Okay, there they are.
The least is to the left, and the semi-palmated is to the right. And semi-palmated is indeed a little heftier. It's heavier overall and a little longer. You can see the least pretty well now. At least I can.
I can too. The semi-palmated is just at the leftern edge of the island, but behind it.
Distinctly brown that least is, and you know, darker on the neck and breast and face.
You know, I think you're right. That the semi-palmated, good eye.
It's a subtle.
Definitely
thing.
has a lighter face and lighter overall.
Yeah. So you're looking for that kind of distinction in terms of color. Yeah, they're all grayish brownish, but this is more grayish and that's more brownish. And that's the sort of thing that comes in handy. And yeah, you're looking at proportions, but in this case, you're looking at a blockier head and a thicker bill. And you know, that's the kind of subtlety that sometimes it comes down to. In most cases, it doesn't have to be that fine of a subtle difference, but I'm really gratified that I got that one right.
Do you want to look on my camera screen? I'm getting a decent look right now.
I'm real happy.
Are you? Okay.
Looking through here, and I trust you on this. You're the videographer. I'm just a guy with a scope.
Well, the videographer's battery is about to die,
Okay.
although I have more. But my time is just about up.
Okay. Well, I
But
feel
this has been a
was
pleasure.
very successful in that we got a direct comparison and description of least and semi-palmated sandpipers. And meanwhile, we got photobombed by killdeer and spotted sandpiper and lesser yellow legs. And we had.
But this has been a pleasure because,
solitary sandpiper.
you know, from East Road itself, which is a ways up there, it just you can't see this kind of detail. At least I can't.
This information is good for when you have a chance to come down here, but when you see these birds in a different context and you do have an opportunity, you'll have a better idea of being able to identify them.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. This is fun.